Hello, everybody, and welcome to the very 11th episode of Very Special Guest. Our guest today, who are you?
It's me, I'm Owie Brainhurts.
Hi, Owie! How are you?
Hi, I'm alright, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great! Welcome to the podcast.
Yay! Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Literally, I think this is so funny, because they literally were mentioned, because, Baka and I talked about, one of your videos in the last episode, and now you're on the show. I think this is one of the funniest, evolutions, out
I've
there.
Been summoned.
You were.
Manifested.
We manifested this episode, absolutely. I mean, what kind of a podcast doesn't manifest episodes, you know?
Absolutely. You gotta have those links to the next one. You gotta binge watch them all and it'll all tie together.
And then people will start saying it's lore, saying that if you foreshadow someone, that's lore, and you'll be able to, I know.
So we gotta start, mentioning some names in this one and see who comes next.
Ooh, I don't know.
Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift, come on to our podcast. That's when I forget to upload and make another episode of the show, and then on April Fool's Day I release episode 12, Taylor Swift.
Yeah, episode 13, Taylor Swift's lucky number.
I know,
Taylor
exactly.
Swift. Yeah.
No, she'll be episode 22, you know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Dude, when you're 22, it's funny because that song's very relatable, but only because the name, I don't know. I'm not a Taylor Swift listener, really.
I think the thing is with Taylor Swift is that she has covered so many different genres that if you initially don't think you like her, it's, you just need to find what you do like, because I feel like it's impossible for anyone to not like at least one Taylor Swift song.
Well, no, I like her stuff a lot, don't get me wrong. I just, haven't gotten, into her, right? I think at some point I need to go in through and listen to, her whole discography. But, for now, I think the two albums that I really like of hers are, Evermore and Folklore, the ones that I've,
Yeah.
That vibe is gonna be the ones that I connect with the most, because I am a lo-fi kind of, relaxing music person, and it's so nice.
Yeah. No, I agree. I really like those albums, and it's skill and talent in those. I feel like sometimes it's although it shouldn't be the case, it's harder to see what she's capable of when it's sort of quite processed and poppy. But when you have that, the sort of acoustic and all the lyricism, you get to really appreciate what she's capable of, which is really nice.
Oh.
But yeah.
Well, I think the thing about artists and stuff, right, is you so often only see them do exactly what they're most comfortable with, because that's just the way things are. You get famous for what, you're known for, right? But I think whenever artists are allowed to, reach out of their comfort zone and get better, I think that's always for the better,
I feel like with Taylor Swift, it was almost the other way around. I feel like she was very in touch with her artistic side, but I feel like she felt pressured in fear of becoming irrelevant, as female artists often are. I think she felt a need to constantly reinvent herself, and so she went into the mainstream pop and was doing all of that, and then eventually lockdown came around and then she went, screw it, and then went back to her roots of the raw acoustic folky stuff, which is essentially where she started. So I think for her it was, she was growing as an artist, but really the true growth was her not caring so much about her perception. Well, and ultimately it's,
yeah,
here we are.
I had to bring this out.
Oh, they've all lined up. Look, they've all lined up. I was thinking, this is the baby sensory fruit videos. This is basically that.
Oh, this absolutely is.
It's on the black background as well.
Which is perfect for it,
Yeah.
No, I think the whole thing with it wait, what were we talking about again?
I was talking about Taylor Swift and
right, yeah. Thank you.
Rather than growing, is more that she let herself be who she actually was all along, kind of thing.
I think that's one of those things where it's I want to, at some point, one of my ideas that I've had tossing around for a video series is called Learning to Love X, where it's I go in and try to experience something of some series, either movies, games, film, books, whatever, that I've never properly loved or had that chance to experience before, and then over time get into it and learn all about it. Right? I think that'd be a lot of fun, honestly.
That is fun. I think, there's, you know, you get to touch on, it's like, like listening to the Spotify playlists where it's like the best of, or,
Yeah.
you know, you get to touch on all of it rather than just a peripheral view. I think that's really interesting as well because it means that it's like reading the cliff notes of something. If someone can see your video about it, then they get to get a taste of it themselves and figure out if they want to do that too.
20,000%, I think, within a lot of things there and stuff too, because it's like I think the big thing for me is it's like I think there's a lot of things that you have like first of all, like I think the main way that I get into things is I randomly decide to try something out, right? It's weird because it's like I've not like been in the fandom spaces for years at this point, right? Like my last fandom was like Steven Universe. I don't know if you watched that one.
Yeah, I'm
Or
familiar.
Valid. Did you exist in fandom spaces at all, like growing up or nowadays, or?
Oh, I feel like I mostly watched them from a distance rather than was actively involved. I was a bit involved in Taylor Swift's, like the Swifties and stuff, but I watched a lot of things like people who liked Dan and Phil and all those British YouTubers.
Yeah.
I would say I was like one of them, but I wasn't on Tumblr and you know
No,
screaming my heart out about it.
I
I'm just quickly
also.
nervous. Have you got? Is your mic recording on this scene?
Yeah. Wait. Oh my gosh. Wait. Oh wait. Let me see. It's
I
scrolling
just
down.
wanted you to
Wait,
check
wait,
because
hang
it's
on.
different it's different from the other scene. So I just really wanted you to
Yes, it
check.
is.
Okay, it's fine.
It,
Okay, cool. Awesome.
I might need to quiet myself down a little bit. But that's what we have Craig here for. Craig, like, again, Discord audio quality actually is pretty fire, so.
Yeah, it's not bad at all.
Here, I'm gonna also, I think I'm gonna just stop streaming just for my computer. So, last, the owies will have to go away. Say
Of
goodbye to
course,
the,
of course.
say
That's
goodbye to the
fine.
owies on Owie's line.
Uh,
It's like
I'm
seeing
sure
your,
I'll survive.
yeah, and I know, it's a little like seeing your children vanish, but like, hey, it is what it is.
Where did my baby sensory video go?
Honestly, like, you should totally make just the Owie baby sensory video, even if it's on like a dumping other channel and stuff. Watch that one like become really popular with like kids.
It would be like a funny April Fool's thing. To just like because I normally do everything on a white background. To just suddenly release like a black background sensory video with everything just like bopping around. Honestly, that's kind of tempting. I kind of
mean,
love it.
And like, even if you do it like either adults or kids, I think you're gonna get a lot of views. One of my good friends always played baby sensory videos in the game labs when we were always working, which was when I was visiting while the game majors were working. Oh my gosh, people who work for like game design like in college are so hardworking, it's crazy.
Yeah, my partner, he's got a degree in games development and I don't know. I feel like with stuff like that, I think I'd be constantly stressed about getting assignments done because you're constantly working on these projects and all the bug fixing. It's not like just writing an essay and
Yeah.
being like, okay, I've written my X amount of words. It's like, okay, I've got to do this, which is also has nested 5 other tasks underneath it, and then one thing goes wrong and it breaks the other things, and I couldn't do it. I think I'd just rip my hair out.
My brain is really not built for that. Like, I've been taking interactive
Yeah.
narrative, but, like, I'm planning on changing my schedule around, so I'm not taking interactive narrative too next time, because the cool thing is, the director of Kung Fu Panda is teaching a class at my school, which is pretty exciting.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun.
Director of that, and then anything live action within SpongeBob, which is really cool, you know?
Wow.
Right?
Okay, that's really cool.
So it's like, I'm gonna take that chance while I can to take a class with him, you know? Because it's
Yeah.
like, and then the whole thing is like, interactive narrative is fun, but it's also a lot of work, and it's a lot of playing games outside of class, and it's a lot of, so it's like, for my final semester, I want to take it easy, and then the other thing is it fits into my dream schedule, right? Where I have classes on Monday and Tuesday, right? And then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, nothing. 5-day weekend.
Oh, that's beautiful.
It's literally
That is
the
fantastic.
dream, right? Like,
Yeah.
and the fun thing is I would use that time to like work more on like channel stuff, you know,
Yeah.
for the vibes.
I mean, the only thing that could be better than that is having just Thursday. Oh, actually, I was gonna say, is it just Thursday and Friday better? No, I think just Monday and Tuesday is better. Sorry.
Yeah,
Ignore
no
me.
worries. You're good. Well, it's like I feel like Monday is such a dedicated work day, and then so is Tuesday.
Yeah.
And then So is Tuesday. Wednesdays, you're finally used to things. And then Thursday and Friday, they're like, let it be over, please. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
I don't know how anyone handles like a 5-day work week like going forward, right?
I don't think anyone's meant to. Like, I'm of the understanding that the sort of, 37, 40 hour work week is based on the idea of, the man of the house would go out to work and then the woman of the house would stay home and do all the house stuff and look after the children or whatever, which obviously, like, first of all isn't exactly right anyway.
Yeah.
But the thing is, now it's translated into both of those people are expected to work that amount of time and do everything additionally. Like, there are any, it's like, I don't know what you'd call them. I was about to say economists. Economists?
Economists, I guess. Yeah.
Economists? Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently they predicted that by 2030, or I can't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but it's something like by 2030 the average person would only need to work something like 20 hours a week because the economy would have improved that much. But no, here we are.
No,
we've just doubled our work and got poorer.
And then it's so hard as a young person because it's like your parents are always like, we in our day and age actually were able to be very financially successful at your age. Like you should be out in an apartment. Come on, go to an apartment.
Yeah.
Let's go. And it's like, guys, it doesn't really work that way when you're a student, especially. Like, it's like students, mental health stuff. Because it's like, I think the young 20s, right, is the hardest age and no one tells you about it. Because it's like, you're figuring out things out for your own. You got thousands of things going on from, like, a career to, like, career, school, social stuff. Like, oh my gosh, like, everyone's running on young 20s brain. And then the media's, like, so glamoristic of it, right? It's like, oh, young 20s, go to parties, aha. And it's like, dude, parties are a place that exists.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's really interesting. I've heard people say that your early 20s are, like, your 20 to 25 is more formative than your teen years. And I can't confirm or deny, given A, I'm not 25 yet, but B, also I think the pandemic has sort of messed up with, what is formative for young people. But
totally.
It's such a lost time, as you say. Like, half the people are like, I've got a friend who's having a friend I went to school with and was like really close to. She's having a baby in February, and then like, here's me living in my family home still, as are many of my peers, because we can't afford to move out. Like, it's such a weird divide of life when you hit your 20s.
No, two of my friends are literally living in Alaska married, right? Like,
that's like,
in the military. Huh?
One of that's proper adulting, that,
Yeah. Which I'm so proud of them.
Doing that.
They're the most put together people that I know, and they're two of my, like, one of them is one of my closest friends, like, ever, right? Who's literally been there for me, like, always. And it's just cool because I've, like, caught up, because it's nice. And then, like, another one of my friends, like, living in Chicago. And then there's, like, anyone who's at college, anyone, like, it's, I don't know. And it's, like, Europe's interesting because it's, like, from what I gathered, it's a similar, like, I feel like the young adult culture in Europe, okay, this might be weird to say, but I lived in Ireland mainly. I feel like young adults are actually nicer in, like, Ireland than they were in America that I've met.
Maybe. I feel like I haven't got enough evidence to say anything about that. I think but before we started this, we were talking about drinking culture, and I think in the UK, not only even in the UK, but across Europe, drinking culture is so just intrinsic to the culture, full stop. It's weirder if you don't drink than if you do, including when you're 15, 16, 17, 18 years old. I don't know if that has an impact on it at all. Not that I think that alcohol makes you meaner or nicer, but
right.
Have people got their sillies out earlier? Have they done their stupid alcohol mistakes earlier than those who in America who would be legally drinking later, or
Well, so it's interesting. So also, because like for 2 years a while back, I worked at a summer camp in upstate New York, randomly. And so there's a lot of like British and Australian people who came over and stuff there. And there was like one pub, and legit all anyone ever wanted to do on an off hour was go to a pub. Or go to like the local like pub and stuff. Like, for the off nights, because the whole thing with this job, right? And this probably should be like illegal for someone to work, but it's a job where you're working 24 hours a day, 6 days, or at the very least 6 days a week. If you're lucky,
Yeah.
it's 6. Sometimes it's 7, where it's where you're just like traveling around. It's like you get nights off, right? You get 2 out of every 3 nights off, except for that one night that that we have an all staff meeting and everyone's on duty. But you go through that for like 6 weeks of the summer. Absolute insanity. Huh?
Does that abide by labor laws? Like, that feels like a lot.
Yeah,
especially for young people.
It's a contract job, and the whole thing is people are like, oh, summer camp staff, it's a fun summer and stuff. It is one of the most intense jobs of your entire life, and it like builds such a work ethic in someone, right? Because if you're working 24/7, where you wake up, like, you don't even really have a morning to wake up and stuff. Oh, the other bit, right? So 2 out of the days a week, there's this thing called late wake up that they do, where they wake all the kids and staff up. They let you sleep in an extra hour. Everyone's really happy about that. On the downside, for the staff, that counts as your off period for the day. So in those days, you don't get a period off. Yeah. But you can't leave.
That's terrible.
But you can't leave early in the morning because your kids are like asleep and you need to watch them. The rules for the staff, and I broke this one frequently because I need to have this with me at all times, is you normally cannot have your phone on you at the summer camp, right? So it's so if you're traveling around, I guess any medical emergency, call someone else, you know.
Yeah, that's not good, is it?
My whole thing is you need to have your phone with you at all times. That is just how life should be, you know.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's just an extension of yourself as a person.
Yeah.
The evolution.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'd mostly for the better. Of course, it gets abused, but having your phone on your person, as you just said, you know, it means you can get emergency help or communication a lot faster than
exactly.
shouting. You know?
Yeah. Well, it's like otherwise you have to work with the whole things with your areas and the whole thing with the campus. It was nice. I enjoyed my I taught film at the summer camp, right? So it's like I spent the morning with my bunk until like breakfast, and then I went away for a bit. I went to my little area called Hobbyville, set up my room for the day with little activities where I was teaching them the green screen or like storytelling. Like I had a fun storytelling exercise that literally broke the hearts of so many kids, which in a fun way, you know. The way this works, right, is it's literally like you know like Gartic phone, right?
Yeah.
Like that whole concept. It's that, but for writing. So I had all my kids, with the younger kids, I'm like, okay, guys, we're going to come up with main characters today. Come up with a main character that you're excited to tell a story with. And so I had them write details for the main character, and I'm like, that's awesome. Are you proud of your main characters? And they're like, yeah. And they're like, cool, we're rotating computers.
Oh,
yeah.
Fun.
So I had them all messing with each other's stories, and it was a lot of fun because it's also reflective of the creative process of how film works. Because like everyone else is working on things and messing with each other's projects.
Yeah,
it's a life lesson. It was.
I thought an argument started.
Oh, huh?
Did it start arguments? Like, did the kids be like, "Oh my god, this kid was just
not arguments,
killed by my fairy"?
Arguments? No, I mean like we've had that happen where it's like some of the kids, because it's like when they're describing main characters, little kids, right? Because I ran this with the little kids. The older kids would laugh me out of town, or write the most like chaotically like violent characters ever, because like teenage boys are an entity. As someone who was a teenage boy and was not an entity, but teenage boys are quite the unique crowd. But so for the little kids, like, their adjectives are always, oh, they're nice, good, smart, and it's like, there's no complexity in their characters. They're just, it's so, and it's like, but the fun part is eventually we get to the beginning, middle, end part, and it's fun just seeing what they do to each other's stories, and it's a good way to start a conversation with the younger kids.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And it's like,
the sort of icebreaking between them, yeah.
The whole thing with these kids is they like content creation, but I don't think they understand how it works often, right?
100%, yeah.
And it's a fun way to figure out. The oldest kids though I liked a lot. Like I had a film club space that I just like had as an open and chill space for people to come in to work on their own projects for like film club. Like you sign up for film club, you could do what you want where it's like you work on the project, right? That's kind of like assigned. But I also have it open for anyone who wants to write and like come up with like their own stories and chill. Like I had one older girl. Oh my gosh, she was so sweet to have. All she wanted to do was go on Goodreads. Like she desperately wanted to do that to look up books while she was at summer camp because it's like a no technology place, no phones, nothing for them.
Oh really?
So my room was my room was one of two places that had technology. My room and then the sick office because they had a TV for the kids who were sick.
Right.
But like not even the staff were allowed to use the Wi-Fi at this camp.
Wow, that's kind of weird. I don't know about that.
I
But I guess, self-service works. If you need help, then...
No, it's the middle of nowhere, New York. No cell service either, often. Yeah.
Well...
So I had to figure
then.
how things worked. I had a friend my first year there who snuck me onto the Wi-Fi, which was nice because he was the tech guy.
Oh, that's nice.
But like, because it's like I need to video essay and chill when I sleep, you know?
Yeah, no, for real. It's an accessibility need.
Exactly.
I need my emotional support podcast, you know?
No, honestly though, I don't know. Do you like listen to things as you go to bed, or do you like?
I don't. I know a lot of people who do. Personally, I'm like mostly okay with sitting with my own thoughts. On like if I need something, I'll listen to like white noise or like rain noise or something, and that'll help. But like my partner, he listens to ASMR or music while he sleeps, and I think I'd just be so distracted. I think I'd be focused on what they're saying. But so many people fall asleep to TV, podcasts, everything like that.
Well, that's the whole thing for me, right? Where it's like I think I need to be distracted from my own thoughts. That's the whole thing. Where it's like. Because my head's racing and stuff. Because I think the whole thing about ADHD that's so chaotic, right? Is your thoughts are your head's racing like 1,000 thoughts a second. And also it's weird. I heard something that like half of all people don't have head voices or something. I read that somewhere. That I don't believe that, but I read that somewhere. I don't know.
It's weird to think about other people's perceptions. Like, have you heard about people asking people to visualize an apple in their mind, and some people just physically can't bring an image to their head, which I can't imagine not being able to do that.
No, same. My head is always running, and that is literally how I get anything done, or get distracted also, but like how I get anything done, because it's like I'm a procrastinator, but my head's like always like running through the possibilities. It's like it's hard for me to work until I have that like flash of inspiration, you know, but once I have that flash, it's like it's golden and we're going, you know.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of it, isn't it? You can get sort of hyperfixated and
totally.
It's one of the perks of ADHD. You might not be able to focus on one thing, but when you can focus on something, chances are you're going to be able to focus quite well.
Well, like, a lot of my ADHD experiences with them things is it's like I don't think I've ever had like one like set like hyperfixation right for a time, but it's like I've got a lot of things that I like hyper learn about for like one day at a time, right, and then just like have that knowledge picked up into my bank, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know. ADHD is such a good self-learning tool, you know, because if you and that's why it doesn't work well in school also, because like schools aren't self-learning. You're not learning because you're excited about it. You're learning because someone else is excited about it and wants you to learn it. I don't know.
Yeah, because you have to as well. It's like you haven't really got a choice to not.
Exactly. You gotta sit there and get through your classes. Also, I know that you guys like do college differently than we do high school in the UK, right?
So the word college is different here. We don't.
It's high school
the
for
word
y'all.
College for university. Yeah. So the way it works is that because obviously in America you have like elementary school and then middle school and then high school.
Yeah.
But here it's primary school, which is from ages 4 to 11. Secondary school, which is ages 11 to 16, and then you'll have either college or sixth form. It depends on where you go and like what you're referring to as. They're technically the same thing, and that'll be 16 to 18 or even sometimes 19. And I think some places will host courses for adults and stuff as well, like beyond that age. But
don't you
so college is
don't you get to learn what you want for that too?
Yeah, so you sort of hone down on what you're studying throughout your sort of post-11 education. Like by 13 I from 13 to 16 we had to study the basics. We had to do maths, English, science,
Yep.
We had to do religion as well. That's not every school does that, but we did.
Well,
And
religion is fascinating to learn about. So.
it is fascinating. The problem
Was.
is that the teachers are just so dry, and I think
Mhm.
because we were forced to do it, it took a lot of the soul out of it as well.
Did
Just
you go
got
to
like
a
a
Catholic school or?
no. I mean, it was like it wasn't religion as in like specifically Christianity. It was like a generalized.
Huh.
It was like a religion and ethics sort of class. So it depends on what the school chooses. We did ours focused on just Christianity and Islam,
Uh.
but there's plenty of different courses that the school could choose between. But yeah, I mean, so I had to do those, and then I was able to pick additionally. I had to do Spanish as well. But I chose art and information technology and textiles and geography because they advised that we picked at least one of geography or history, so I picked geography.
That's
And
fair enough.
yeah, and then we did those, and then by the time you're 16, you pick three or four to study, and that you have there's nothing you have to do there. So did, well, initially I did maths, chemistry, biology, and computer science, and then I quickly realized that was not the move and changed to maths, computer science, and video game arts and development.
That's cool.
Arts and mechanics even. Yeah, but it's really cool because we didn't have to do maths, we didn't have to do English because we but to some extent, if you want to know the foundations of it, there's not really much point knowing much more. Like
Yeah.
once you know everything in a situation like real world real world applications rather for maths, you don't really need to know how to differentiate a big old formula. So I like how the system is.
I like
I
y'all's
feel
system
like,
better than the American system of 4 years. With the most like you have to get 4 years of English, 3 years of science, 3 years of history, 3 years of math, 2 years of foreign
Yeah.
languages if you want to get into most colleges. Which is my brain is so not wired for foreign languages. It's kind of frustrating. Like I took Spanish, took Latin, struggled at both. You know. Um,
Yeah.
Love history though. Oh my gosh, I was always a history English kid as far as things go, but like math is a lot of fun. I like that y'all use the term maths, by the way. Like
Yeah.
such a fun way to say it, maths.
Which technically it makes sense because it's like mathematics, right? That's what
Yeah.
it's short for. So maths plural makes sense. But I kind of like, I guess for American, I guess math as an arithmetic. So like it's all the same thing, but
Yeah.
maths. I feel silly saying maths when I feel like I correct myself now to say math a lot more
Well, it's
online,
like-
especially.
Maths should be normalized. I think it's a very fun word to like say about the whole thing. Like I've heard it from like other friends of mine who are maths majors. It's weird to say in context with other things like maths alone's chill, but then say maths major and stuff or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's with admiration. Like good for you, honestly.
Go for me with what? Sorry.
Good for you, honestly, though, with like taking those and stuff. Like oh my gosh, like sciences were good for me until it was like all formulas. Like chemistry is my least favorite
Yeah.
science class.
It's quite widely regarded here that in terms of A levels, as in what you pick when you're between 16 and 18, it's quite widely regarded that chemistry is the hardest one. And oh, it showed. Yeah, I mean, there's so many different little things and the formulas and stuff, as you say. Science is fun until it's not anymore, until
Yeah.
it gets complicated.
Well, the other thing is, it's always like it's all about like memorization for like certain things with the formulas. Like here's the thing, right? You should be able to just find out you have to memorize the formulas. Where would I be? You go.
Sorry, I thought you were
You're
asking me,
good. No worries.
do I have to? Because when we did because as I said, you got the 11 to 16 and then you have the 16 to 18. When you did your exams at 15, 16, when I did them, they gave us the formulas. They gave that you'd get a list, like a sheet that has all the formulas on it, so that you could reference it. But in the following years after that, you had to memorize them, which I think is silly because in most real world applications you would be able to look it up. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I
No,
thought
you're
you'd ask me.
you're totally valid. No, I don't mind at all. Well, I think it's crazy and stuff too because it's like school's supposed to be a reflection of how the real world works. But like,
Mm.
when's your boss when it's like, hey, I need you to solve this problem? When's your boss gonna be like, no, you cannot use Google to look up the formula. How dare you? Like,
Oh, clearly at your summer camp, that's where. Put your phone away. You
yeah.
can't be googling anything. But yeah,
Well,
in
it's,
most like scientific situations, you're gonna have a load of computers around.
well, it's like my whole thing for like schools, right? As far as how it worked for me, like I did things a little bit differently too. Like I did pretty well in high school. Like I was a solid B student with like the ADHDs of it all still.
Mm.
Unmedicated for most of the time. Because I was
Yeah.
only medicated for like my back half of freshman year and then that one quarter of junior year where my mom saw my 504 and I have a 504 for like ADHD and then also needing physical therapy, right? So I had a 504 meeting, and the thing about 504s is they're the Avengers assemble of all like parent teacher conference meetings, right? Like
Right.
it's not just your parents with one teacher. The assistant principal's there, your case manager's there, and then about like all the teachers that you have, and it's like I don't expect these teachers to be interacting in the same room. That's funny. But that time I had been like forgetful of my homework, as one does with ADHD, and my mom freaked the heck out at the end of it, and I literally had to like my mom literally like dropped me off at my after school activity, picked me up. My dad was back in the car, and
Oh
right
my God. Yeah.
because it was like granted I was being forgetful, but that was oh my gosh that April was so chaotic because the med was one of those ones which built up over time. Like I think it was,
Yeah.
and on the peak of it, my brain was like, cool. What if you cried at the slightest rejection always?
Oh no.
Yeah, it was a time, but we're doing better now, and that's what matters.
It is funny how meds like that work. I tried ADHD meds and I didn't really feel any different.
Right.
And then I was going to try a different one, and it was like, oh, wait until November, and then the shortage should be over. We can get you on them, and so that hasn't happened. But yeah, I was completely expecting to go a bit funny because,
Yeah.
as you just explained, it can mess with you a bit, even if it is just temporary.
Hmm.
But I was like underwhelmed. I
Yeah.
was like fine, but yeah.
Well, it's like even with my new one, like I've got like new focus where it matters, and it's like it's reined in so much of the anxiety. Like the rejection sensitive dysphoria has been way better. Like previously, I had been like, previously it had been I was in quite like a cycle of it because I think that's the whole thing with mental health, right? Like the worse yours gets, often you get into these cycles where every action starts feeding into one another and creates like the monster that is, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, sort of spiral.
it's oh my gosh, and so I had been on basically like I started again in November, which was like 3 months into the semester, and it's like the summer was I had a little bit of a break before the semester, but it like by the end of August I was starting on another one of the whole things as things like heated up with like the situations.
Hmm.
um but it's like since I've been on it, this is my first episode of the podcast to be on the meds, and I feel different in a lot of ways with like getting minor effects. Like it's really prominent, I think, the first day when you take a med, and then every other day it starts to feel just more normal when you're taking it, if it makes sense.
Yeah.
But you feel the difference in the whole thing. Like my first day on my first time trying Vyvanse, which I literally like watched an entire season of The Simpsons in one day. Like sitting on the couch. That's what my ADHD med made me do first. And I think I can
Yeah.
hyperfocus. The weird thing with it, right? You don't pick what your meds make your brain hyperfocus on for that first day. It's just whatever you're finding interesting.
Yeah.
But
I think that's interesting because I Ice Cream Sandwich did a video about ADHD medication. He was explaining, I can't remember which one it was for. It might have even been for Vyvanse, but he said that when he'd take it, he'd have to be careful what he was doing at the time because as it kicked in, he would end up very focused on that one thing he was doing as it began to kick in. So, like as you just explained, you were watching The Simpsons, and then you were kind of into it all day, and that's cool. If he described it as he'd watched a documentary about space travel, and then he'd taken the pills, and then he was like all day he was on like a like
Oh,
a Google deep dive about space travel or anything like that.
oh, I totally think
Which is
that's
super interesting.
I totally think that's the thing with the med. The other thing that's weird with my 1 and 5 right now is I'm rarely hungry. I've had days where I eat very little and stuff.
Oh, I've heard about that. Apparently, that's really common.
Yeah, and then also your mouth gets super dry for like no reason whatsoever, which is
Ugh.
fun. It's
Yeah.
why I'm hydrating. Woohoo!
Woohoo! Hydration.
It's so hard to remember often, but yeah.
Oh, I'm really bad at staying hydrated. I will just forget. I'll be like, why have I got a headache? And it's like, oh, I've had like maybe 2 glasses of water today, and it's 7 p.m.
Hey,
It's just, again, it's the
yeah.
ADHD and probably the autism as well. It doesn't come naturally to me to remember.
Hey,
You know?
hey, Owie. I think I need to break the fourth wall for a bit. Audience, are you hydrated today? Have you
I was
drank
like,
enough water? Like, unlike
I was
our
like, oh
hosts.
shit, what happened? I was like, oh my god, is something happening? Is he okay?
No, I
Like,
just
okay,
want to
okay.
ask the audience. This might be their only wake up call. If they're living alone, this might be their only wake up call, right? Like, if you're
True.
alone in an apartment with roommates who you don't know or don't care enough about, this is probably your only wake up call because like they're not being like stay hydrated, bestie. But yeah, audience, are you hydrated? That is the question. In this episode of the
Have you got a
podcast,
glass of water? Have
we'd
you got
ask
your
you,
emotional support beverage?
are you enjoying the fluids? Are you one with the water? Okay. This is one of my funny. This is one of my favorite bits we just did for this.
You scared me for a second. I was like, oh my god, I thought you, when you said you were going to take a break, I was like, wait, are we stopping? Are you
Yeah.
okay? And then it was like, oh yes, I got a drink.
Well, it's like you don't hear that often because it's like I think the other thing about young adulthood, right, is that so often either you are still living with your parents, which is valid, but it's like they're less worried about you, I think, now than they were.
Oh yeah.
Well,
I could shrivel up and dehydrate and die, and they probably wouldn't realize.
well,
Like my water consumption is irrelevant to them.
even when I'm back home, it's like they still like worry a little about what's going on with me and stuff always. But it's like the thing for me that I like about living alone, right, is it's like I feel like I have my own unfiltered schedule instead of like being like, oh, this random thing could show up and be the thing that you do today,
Yeah.
Like creative work, I can't get done anything at home. Like love my family, but it's like my brother has this habit I call barging into my room.
Oh, my sister does that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, he's always like his habit, right? So he first knocks on my door, right? And it's like I'm busy. Then he knocks again. I'm busy, and he does not relent until I let him in. So at last he enters. And
Yeah.
then, which is fine, but it gets to a thing sometimes where it's like I'll do this thing when I'm laying in my bed where I fake that I'm like still like sleeping and stuff to get him to go away. Does not work. He still comes
Oh,
in.
it's the same here.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even get a knock. I get a slow door cracking open and like maybe just one eye looking through the gap. So,
I
even
mean-
the faking sleeping, it's like she'll start talking to me. And it's like, go away.
So
I'm sleeping.
So the other solution that I've tried is going goblin mode under my covers and stuff for it to work. Does not work. It doesn't work. He still tries to talk to me. I love him, but like, oh my gosh, sir.
It's like, not now. Not now. It's not the time.
Yeah, exactly. No means no. Goodbye.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love my brother in the end of it. Like he's good. He just like always is by my door and stuff and these things, which is fine. Like it's chill, but at the same time, it's one of those things where it's like my only like I'm a pretty easy go with the flow person, right? Like morning person, down to talk like whenever and stuff. But it's like my whole thing is when I am in my room, I am recharging exclusively,
Yeah.
Like it's weird because like my friends like rarely go to my room when we hang out at my house because we've got a basement that my dad like decked out like crazy. Like he literally bought movie theater recliner seats.
Oh, that's so fun.
It's a lot of fun because we got a good setup for hosting people and stuff. So I'm always hanging there with my friends and stuff. Well, because it's like I don't know. Like my parents were very much so like, oh, rooms are for like sleeping and stuff household, which is fine.
Right.
It's good. Like yeah, no, I don't know. My family, it's like my parents both have pretty like stock jobs. My mom's a real estate agent. My dad's a furniture salesperson.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know if your like family had like if either parents have like stock jobs or if they're like their jobs are
Nah,
huh.
nothing quite like that. I think one thing is America with America as well. Like houses are just well, it depends where you are in America, but houses are so much bigger than they
Yeah.
are here. Like I don't know how on average how much. Well, again, it depends on where you are, but we don't have houses with basements here. Like it's very rare to find someone with a basement. I don't know if that's because of the climate or also I think a lot of houses were panic built during the war and after the war. So a lot of houses are sort of small and are just meant to house people. We don't have the same sort of amount of communal spaces to hang out in many homes. So
I mean,
you need to use your bedroom, otherwise you might not have anywhere else to go, kind of thing.
no, that's totally fair. Like ours is so I live in rural Maine. That's where I'm from, right? Where it's
Mm.
like my closest neighbors are we have like a neighbor house and then we have a horse farm right across the street, right? Which is a nice place, but also I don't drive, which is fun. Like in America, driving is something that's like so early, like at 16, right? I never got my
Yeah, you have to
license.
rely on it in America. Like that stresses me out. Like we have, regardless of where you are in the UK, like you've got a pretty good shot of being able to access public transport. America's having to drive. It's oh,
And your public transport is freaking awesome. Like
it's not bad. It's not bad.
I
Germany and other places do it better, I'd say, but ours is not bad.
I liked I liked the London transport when I went there. It was fun. Honestly, London's just a lovely city from what I saw. I know a lot of people, I know for y'all it's like your New York City, but it's like I don't know.
Yeah.
I like the vibes of it. I traveling around there for a while. I was around your Times Square area, which was fun. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. Londoners are pretty friendly too, which is nice.
They're notorious for not being friendly. Like, if you pass a Londoner in the street, they're not going to sort of look up and say hi, kind of thing. Everyone's got their head down and is walking their own ways. And I do dunk on London a lot, and I do
Understandable.
dunk on the tube a lot. But really, it is even though it is sweaty and stinky and disgusting, it is very efficient and effective. So you can't really fault that.
Well, my time there that I had in like London was crashed in like a hostel and stuff, which was fun. Like the hostel that I
Yeah.
stayed at was pretty cozy. I had a CBD cream soda there that I remember pretty well. And then I went
Oh yeah.
around. I went to a cat cafe, which was cool. I know your cafe.
Oh
I get
yeah.
it. Do you
Yeah.
actually own cats or?
Do I own cats?
Yes.
I've got one cat. I've got
Aw.
a ginger cat. He was actually here before we started recording, and he's disappeared.
Aw. Into
Um,
the abyss. What's his name?
into, his name's Barney.
I love that. Aw.
We didn't pick the name. We got him. I was about to say secondhand. We rescued him, and
A
he was already
secondhand cat
named
dealer?
Barney. Secondhand cat dealer. Yeah, it's going into the thrift shop for cats.
Yeah.
But no, he'd been rescued, and so he's probably got some level of trauma or whatever, which makes him quite uh unpredictable. Is a nice way of putting it, perhaps. Um, a butt might be they're not so nice. He'll randomly attack you and go for your ankles, and you can be stroking him, and he'll love it until he very suddenly doesn't anymore. But aside from that, he is very sweet. He has his moments of being very sweet, at least.
I mean, I think that's the thing too. That's fair too. Like my dog Wallace that I have back home. That's the name. So the way that came down from is my parents were my brother was thinking Wallace and Gromit, but my dad there's a very famous painter with Wallace with our last name that's named Wallace. My dad like took that name, so his name is Wallace or Wally.
Ah.
Um, and here's the thing about him, right? When he was a little puppy, my mom was like to me, "Oh, don't pick him up. You're gonna drop him because he's a small dog. He's a Maltese poodle mix." Um,
Ah.
yeah, I'll send you photos after the stream or after the call. Oh my gosh. um,
Maltese poodle. Are those like the little white dogs?
yes,
Yeah.
he's honestly just a little guy. But he hates
Just a
anyone
little
who's not my
guy.
mom. It's kind of sad. Like
Oh.
he legit, I'll pet him and he'll go grrr, growling right like at me, and
That's
it's
so
like
sad.
you've known me for like most of my life, Wallace.
There's a clip of Jenna Marbles trying to pet her dog, and the dog just biting her back, and she just shouts to him, we've lived together for 7 years. It's like, it's just, small dogs just feel the need to, I don't know, I guess it's, they're trying to make up for their lack of size, it feels like.
Well,
They're so loud.
Well, and if you, well, it's funny because it's like if you're the only small dog in a house, right? With it, when it comes down to things, it's like that's your whole world. Like he literally bullied the black lab we had next door for a while.
Yeah, that sounds like small dog behavior to me.
It's so funny, right? Because it's like I'm a small person. I'm only 5'5", right? So I'm canonically short.
Canonically short. Law. We've got law.
Yeah. Oh, I've been open about that. I think the whole thing for it is it's like I don't do I have a like I think me being short like checks out. I think when people like talk.
I
to
can
me.
imagine it.
It's when you're short, you're either really angry or really like loud. And I was a theater kid, so I'm loud.
A short theatre kid, I feel like that. Yeah, I think it all adds up.
Yeah.
In my head, like a tall theatre kid wouldn't make as much sense.
There's not as many like tall guys in theater always. I don't know. Like the theater.
They've probably got Sorry.
You go.
No, I don't need to interrupt. I was just saying
No.
they probably got suctioned into sport, and like people like sports coaches or whoever would have been like, "You tall person, we've got a basketball hoop we need to reach."
You've been drafted, ha!
Yeah, exactly.
Before
Before they could reach the theatre, they'd already been suctioned into something else.
But like theater's chill. Like theater, film, all that kind of stuff's like pretty chill for the space. It's like, I don't know. It's funny when I think about it because it's like. I don't think about being like short too often because I just see people from my height. But it's like I like my height. It's cozy, It's my It's just I don't know. Like being tall. Oh my gosh. Like I feel like the weird thing. I don't know. Are you shorter or taller or like medium?
I'm 5'7", which
oh yeah,
I feel
you're
like
taller than me then.
Yeah, in terms of being a human,
Yeah.
it's average. In terms of being female, it's tall. So it's like day to day I don't really notice it, but sometimes at school I was always one of the tallest girls in my classes, all throughout school as well, like from being little to being a teenager. No, not me and my clumsy ass, but sports is not as big of a thing. Well, sports is a big thing, but like sports in schools, it's not nearly as intense here as it is in the US. Also, so the vibe I get is like I feel like in the US, if you're doing a sport, you meet every day after school kind of thing. Whereas here, it's like maybe once a week, unless you're like really going for athlete level, and that'll be you'd be doing that privately, paid for at another organization rather than at the school.
So it's a class. So it's classism. No. Well, wait.
Yeah, but yeah, kind of.
Do you guys pay? Do you guys like pay for your high schools, or are those all public and free? Right.
It's all free.
You guys
I
have
think there's only part of it that is.
You guys
paid.
have
I think we
that
have to pay for art materials, but
fair enough. No, you guys have better where your uni's free also compared to ours, which is like $30,000 a year for me.
30,000 is insane. We have
I agree.
a cap for like people who already live in the country, like nationals. It would be the maximum is like 9,000 a year. They absolutely charge international students way more. It's kind of like a cash cow for universities because people, especially from like Asia, they'll travel to the UK because it will be a better education, but then the UK charges them a lot of money and it gives them a lot of money, which is unfortunate because that's the 30,000 a year kind of range. But for us, it's 9,000. And if you're in Scotland, if you're a Scotland resident, then it's free. And so, which I think as it should be, it's free in Germany as well. 30,000 is just nuts.
See, I really want to go back to the UK at some point and stay there for longer because honestly, like while I was in Ireland was a cool place, right? Like I met friends there and stuff too. But man, I freaking loved the United Kingdom. It was like, or the parts that I've seen so far are lovely, and I've only seen London, which is considered one of the worst parts, and then Birmingham, which is I don't know.
But yeah, Birmingham. being Birmingham being one of the places you went to is like, oh, out of all the places you could go to in the UK, oh, I went to the UK, I went to Birmingham. It's like
It was
ooh,
explicitly to go to a convention. That's the whole thing and
yeah,
stuff, right? Where
yeah,
it's like I went there, and then we stayed nearby. It was a house that had a bunch of like it has some commentary YouTubers in the house, which is funny. It's honestly it's crazy. I think because like in the online world, like people have these perceptions of commentary, but like it's so vastly different. Like it's I think the craziest thing, right, about content creation, right, is how different everything is like under the scenes compared to what's the front facing view of everything. Like you
yeah,
never will know who someone's like behind the scenes until you actually like talk with them, right?
yeah, absolutely. And it's I think it's something that a lot of people struggle with, the sort of separation between who they are online and who they are as a person, and especially for people that their whole brand is based around themselves. Like if you think about people like Dan Howell or like the Sparsh Anthony Padilla, Ian
Yeah.
Hawks, people that were like completely front facing. People would make up what they take what they see of you, and then they assume that you're a certain way, and then it turns out these people aren't like that. This is who they're presenting on camera, but I mean it's all parasocial, really, isn't it? But
Well,
it's I think people struggle with their identity in terms of who they are online versus offline, and how those two mix.
Well, and when you think about it, right, like video and photo are the most curated forms, I think, of like how things go as far as what you present, right? Because you write whatever, or like decide how the shoot looks and stuff for things. You can decide how you perceive in those things. When you're doing something that's like live in a format, like either this podcast, right, or like a live stream, right? It's so
Yeah,
much more of who that person is. So I think that's the whole thing for a streamer is why they have that whole connection, because it's like you don't really know the streamer, but you do get to know more of their mannerisms and the ways that they act, which is fascinating, I think, always.
yeah.
I think it's crazy, though, too, also, because, like, I feel like there's such a lack of, like, literacy of, like, older generations understanding the modern media literacy and things. Like, I don't know about you, but my, like, mom, like, has no idea how anything YouTube works.
Oh, my mum's all over it. She uses TikTok more than everyone in the house put together combined. She loves it.
That's
She
awesome.
she's like she'll struggle with like how to use the printer, but give her
Yeah.
TikTok and she's very happy. But and also my dad's quite good with tech as well. So I personally like we're all quite tech literate. But I know that's not the case for
No.
everyone, especially if you have older parents as well.
Well, mine are in, like, their early 50s, so it's, like,
Yeah, basically same.
like mine had me when they were like my mom was 30 when she had me, right? So it's like there's the age gap. Like, to be honest, I'd rather have them like not like older, but it's like I think that's like the middle range for like parents. Like a 30-year gap's kind of like what I think of as like kind of normal. I don't know. I can't imagine someone
I'd
having
say
like
so.
I can't imagine someone having kids like when having a parent who's like 20 years older than them, where it feels like they're still one of the kids in a lot of ways, because it's like, but it's like I literally have to help out with like everything technology in my household, like streaming wise, TV wise. Like
Yeah.
I hooked them up with YouTube TV recently because they hated cable. So we're to YouTube TV, which is basically also cable, but it's like cheaper and
It's
more
different
manageable.
cable.
Yeah, haha,
Yeah.
we're giving Google our money now.
Yeah, woohoo! Yeah.
Well, it's the frustrating thing with America, too, about how cable is situated. Oftentimes, cable companies have, like, monopolies over areas and stuff, right? Because there's not many options, you know?
Yeah.
But I don't know, I think it's always it's so interesting when you think about it, because it's like, my parents don't watch any YouTubers or anything at all themselves, which is, like, understandable. I think we're gonna see the takeover when, like, our generation ascends, right? Where, like, YouTube's gonna become the main outlet compared to TV. Like, officially.
There's definitely going to be a shift. I think, like, right now, for example, in the UK, you have to pay a yearly license fee if you want to be watching cable. And I think they're going to end up having to dissolve that because people just won't be buying it.
Right.
They just rather watch streaming services and stuff like that instead. I think that's going to be part of the shift.
I've seen all those bits about, like, how, you know that having unlicensed cable could cost you a lot of money. Dun dun dun.
Yeah.
It's
It's like, oh,
like,
who finds out? Like, I think I was talking about this with a friend, and he said that like someone actually turned up at his friend's door to be like, like, have you got your TV license? And to be honest, also like when my partner was in university housing, they'd get something through the door being like, we know you haven't got a TV license, So it's a bit like, ooh, but I don't feel like anyone's actually been. I don't know anyone who's been caught not using a TV license.
I feel like that's something that's like so scary for someone to just like show up at your house and be like, I don't know, it's like the Repo Man coming in like The Sims, you know? Like,
Yeah, no, absolutely. The scary music plays as well.
Yeah. Shout out to this. Like, I never played Sims 2, but shout out to The Sims and making every child that gets taken away or like things like that happen so scarily, you know? And like as a little kid, you don't know how to cheat yet, and so it's like, oh no, what do I do? But then once you know cheats, it's like, ha, I got the money, you silly goober.
Yeah, it's just you get like jump scared to the core with the burglar music and the Repo Man music and the oh,
it's
terrifying.
Well, so it's like my whole thing with it and stuff is it's like I was a Sims 3 kid. That's what I got really into. That's what I got a lot of the expansion packs for growing up. And honestly, it's a pretty baller like Sims game. I don't use that word normally. Why did I say that? But it's a pretty baller. Yeah. No, it's a pretty darn cool like Sims game. Within things like I loved creating fictional characters in there. Like I had the Wizards expansion, so I made up the cast of. Did you ever watch Wizards of Waverly Place or no?
I didn't, but I know of it.
Fair enough. What kind of shows like did you watch growing up, by the way?
I watched so much SpongeBob.
SpongeBob's so
really
good.
was big on SpongeBob. I don't really remember. I watched a lot of shows that my sister watched, so like sort of I would passively watch them. So like things like iCarly and Victorious and stuff like that. I wasn't opting in, but they were on TV and I was watching them, kind of thing.
Okay, so for the SpongeBob thing, SpongeBob was one of the very few kids shows that my dad also liked, so we had it on pretty regularly too. My dad liked historically like only 3 of our shows growing up, or 3 or 4 of our shows growing up. He liked SpongeBob, he liked Adventure Time, he liked After the Last Airbender, he liked Wizards of Waverly Place, he liked iCarly, he liked So Random, which was another one.
I remember that.
Yeah. But like he notoriously hated most of the shows we watched. Like he's always hated Pokemon with a passion. It's legit his favorite Pokemon. I kid you not, because I asked him for it when I was a kid regularly, because like Pokemon was one of my like things as a child. Is Geodude, which is the funniest like. I know.
Like out of all the ones you could pick, is like, oh yeah, I have the Rock. Yeah. Isn't that the Rock one? I'm not very. I don't know much about Pokemon.
It is the Rock one. It's the little.
Oh yeah, it's the one I imagined it was. Yeah.
Just a funny pick, you know.
Yeah. I've just looked up Geodude, and there's a 3D printing thing you can download that is just like the Rock, as in like the Rock's face with the Geodude arms. So how wonderful is that?
It's very wonderful. Like I was always like I don't know. SpongeBob though is such an iconic show, to be honest. But like I think SpongeBob's one of those shows that's gotten to the point where it's kind of more of a universal language than a show, right? Like everyone understands it, you know?
Yeah, I mean it transcends age. It is applicable and like enjoyable
to everyone.
Yeah, exactly. It's not gendered at all either. It's sometimes it felt like there was like boy comics and girl comics, whatever, but
yeah,
it truly was able to be enjoyed by everyone.
Well, no, that was the thing too and stuff growing up, where it's like I've in my like latter years of my 20s, I enjoy YouTube videos dissecting and stuff like really girly media from like childhoods that I never got to experience, right? Because it's like as a guy growing up, as a guy growing up, like I just didn't experience a lot of those things, but it's like really fascinating to like learn about and stuff too. I don't know.
Yeah.
I've got this nostalgia for a childhood that I didn't have in some capacities nowadays. It's like
yeah.
But it's like it's around the culture. The 2000s were such a wild and fun time with everything, with how it was all working, you know.
It felt so. I don't feel like experimental is really the right word, but it was an era of so many things that would, there was nothing quite like it before.
Yeah.
Which I think makes it really quite unique. But now it's not unique, but back then it was, the first we'd seen of such TV shows and such games and everything like that.
Well, so you're a child of like the early like 2000s, where it's like 2000 and then 2001, the earliest years, right? So like for me, I was born 4 days after 9/11 happened, like legit.
Oh, interesting.
So I never, so you don't have like memories of it or anything, but it's like my mom was like pregnant with me when that happened. So
Yeah,
I
my mum says, because I was only one when 9/11 happened, so my mum says she remembers watching it on TV while like I was like on the floor like playing with whatever toys 1-year-olds play with.
yeah,
But yeah,
1-year-olds in the toys, it's like
you know how it is.
yeah. No, but it's like well, so it's like I think it's crazy to me how fast like things advanced through that decade, right? Where it's like in the early decade, phones were like so little babies and stuff, and by the end we're getting like the starts of the smartphone revolution.
Yeah.
And then it's like in the TV thing, like cable would be dying eventually. Dude, I don't know. It's like did you move at all as a kid or no? Because I like.
I did, but I don't remember it. It was when I was very young.
Fair enough. So we moved midway through my so in America, right, so the way that our school system works is you live in a neighborhood, you go to that school. You like it or not, you go to that school unless you want to shell out $30,000 a year to go to a private high school, but like yeah.
Yeah.
So in the school that I went so I wound up I wound up moving away from my school because it does not make sense within some things. Like my whole thing is I was kind of like, and this is not me bragging, right, but like in elementary school I was considered like gifted in I was considered gifted in a sense, and was in
No,
a
I
special
was as well.
Yeah, but neurodivergent gifted kids be like,
Yeah.
it's hard for us
Burnt
to.
out. Yeah.
Yeah, always. You like learn a lot really fast, and then the world doesn't keep up for it.
Absolutely.
And it feels
Well, it's
weird.
like, you put all your energy into it, and then but by the time you're an adult, you're like, I can't do it anymore.
Well, so
You
like
know?
the big thing for me was like I stopped like caring about like certain things after a certain point
Me too.
within school, and it's kind of sad because I enjoyed caring about things a lot, but it's like
Yeah.
in middle school that's when education starts to get gamified to the numbers, right? Like my yeah, it's wild,
The pressure gets too much. It goes from like being gifted, goes from being something that comes very naturally to something that doesn't. You know, and now you have an expectation to live up to that you're supposedly gifted, and then it's like, oh, it's slipping through my fingers, and I don't know, my label. Where's my label of gifted going?
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like my school, the elementary school that I went to, right, had the worst way of handling its gifted program ever. We literally were brought up, the 3 kids who like qualified for the program, right, in my grade were brought up to a separate room where we sat down on computers and we used an online program called Alex that had this like really weird mascot dude. And my mom hated how that was built and stuff. So my mom, to a school board meeting, argued to shut down the gifted program at my old school. It didn't work.
What?
I know. I kid you not. I spoke at that school board meeting. I had fun with it. I was an outspoken child too. Like I literally fierce public speaking has never been a thing on my end, at least, right?
That's great.
But so we moved schools, and I missed the cutoff for the program very barely, and so I was stuck in normal classes dealing with normal things the entire time, and it's like, oh my gosh. So quickly, like, I burnt out from things, right? It's like, then the ADHD started catching up, and it's the whole process, in middle school grades matter for some reason to people, and then,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, I don't know if the UK did things, like, differently for those sort of things, but...
There wasn't a lot of division between, the average people and the gifted
Yes.
people. I remember I don't know if they still do it, I don't imagine they do, but I remember being quite young and being given these chances to go to additional like Saturday classes, but they would be like for random things. Like I did one on whales and dolphins, and I did another one on Indian dancing. But it was like it was just weird extracurriculars given to people who were deemed as gifted. But that didn't. That was only when I was like 6, 7, 8 years
Yeah.
old. Um, in terms of actually in school, there wasn't much division. Well, like you knew who was
Yeah.
smart and who wasn't, but it wasn't like and our English and maths classes were divided into by skill, but aside from that, not quite as you didn't get special classes per se. It was
Well,
just
yeah.
yeah.
Well, so that's the other thing for me with it and stuff with it is it's like the separation that happens and stuff in my and it was like literally once a week, right, in that school, and then we switched to this other school, and the whole thing is the other thing that I had as a problem as a kid, right? I was a teacher's pet, and I feel really awful for past me's mistakes in that regard. But I was super obnoxious about like that kind of whole thing. It's the desire to be liked, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I guess
But
it's kind of like the rejection sensitivity in a way as well, isn't
oh
it?
yeah. And so in fifth grade, like this is one of the cringiest things I ever did, but okay. So in fifth grade, so fifth grade, moved to a brand new town, right? I have one friend in the class. Oh, one other person that I talked to, who bashed my head into a corner of a wall by accident once in a pillow fight, but that's a story. I'll get into that soon too. But so that year, right, the guys in this class are the most violent. They're fifth graders. They're super violent. They're always talking about the Call of Duties, Assassin's Creeds, Halo, shoot 'em up, that kind of culture.
Yeah.
I was not the child for that. I was a Nintendo child in
Yeah,
fifth
yeah,
grade.
yeah, yeah. Me
Didn't
too.
have an Xbox yet. This whole thing for that. I made friends with the other new kid in that one, and she's actually been a lasting friend of mine through life. She moved away, but like we stay in touch on Instagram more than I do with most of the people from back home. So that was fun. Shout out to Joe. If I don't know if she's like listening to this, but she's really cool. But so that year, right, I got so frustrated from sitting at the lunch table because we had assigned seating for lunch, right? I don't know if you guys had that, but like
Oh, we didn't have that. No.
so in America, right, in elementary school, you sat at a table with your entire class.
Wow.
And that's where you sat for the lunchroom. No going to sit with friends, nothing. You were stranded and stuck with your group. That is your tribe that you ride with. Huh?
Yeah, I feel like maybe that happened if people were misbehaved, but generally we were allowed to sit with whoever we wanted.
See, they had
Gosh.
it that way at other schools, but like the one that I moved to in fifth grade did this, and it's like, okay, fine. And then the other thing is, so me and this other person bonded because like she had just gotten out of homeschool and been moved to public school, and we kind of just hit it off, which was nice. But like I got so frustrated about hearing violence from these like guys, this like gaggle of this group of dudes, you know, it's the fifth graders, that I literally went to the teacher and I was like, can they please talk about violence less at lunchroom? That was dumb. Why would I say that? But like it's at the same.
Well, clearly it distressed you or something, though. Like that's fair enough.
I don't know. It's moving to a new town's always weird, right? Because it's like new reputations, new things you got to pick up, new things you got to learn about the world, and it's like eventually you integrate into the structure, but it's never fully like permanent in a lot of ways, you know. And then like middle school happens, and middle school was chaotic. Dude, I had such a unique rogues gallery of people as a child. It's including someone who's I'll tell you after the stream more about it, but including someone who's a famous YouTuber nowadays.
Well, I feel like everyone. I was talking to Brad, who also makes YouTube. I was talking to Brad about this. I feel like everyone has a local person who became a YouTuber, or for good or for worse. Like I've got a friend who went to school with Leafy, who I don't think is known for having a good reputation, but everyone seems to have someone who. Like, oh yeah, I lived in the same town as this person, or whatever.
I'll tell you the deets like once I finish the recording.
I'll tell you about mine too.
Yeah, because oh my gosh, it is wild. But one of the ones that I can tell you about, we had this child named Donald, right? So Donald's whole shtick was so he was actually also like queer also, but like I am, you know. But like his whole shtick is he liked to make lies about people. So he lied to me in 5th grade and said that the girl that I was like becoming friends with got hit by a bus randomly.
Oh my god.
Yeah, no,
went hardcore there.
But so I wouldn't really formally more interact with him until middle school in 7th grade, which 7th grade was a time because I was in a class that the thing I got bullied for in 7th grade, and I kid you not, was liking Gravity Falls.
Why is that? Is that because people felt like they were too grown for it, or
too grown for cartoons? Then also it's Illuminati confirmed because it was that year. Yeah, right. It was that kind of group. It was a small. Really, it was unique. Like there were some people in that class who were chill, but like overall, that was an experience to be had.
Teenagers are brutal. Like, especially sort of when they're 13, 14, 15. Like, they are brutal. They don't hold back. Well, it's kind of scary.
Well, and it's like, I hardly figured out who I was, really, until, like, I was 16, right? And, like, that whole 13 to, like, 16's bubbles, like, I'm a theater kid. I did that kind of stuff still. I wasn't even really friends with a lot of the people there. Like, it's not even that I'm, like, awkward. I don't think of myself as someone who's, like, awkward or anything. It's just I was, you know... It's the whole ADHD-isms of everything, where it's like you're trying to figure things out, and it's that whole identity crisis, right? Where it's just everything's in this world, and it's like middle school is a time for itself, and then, but it's like once you get done with that and stuff, it's like I think it's crazy. Like just it's been crazy for me, like looking back on high school to be how it is about things.
I agree. I'm the same.
It's like, because it's like in college, I think that I figure myself out a little more in college. Some issues with standing, you know. But it's like, I think it's crazy just as you grow older, like the whole process of like figuring yourself out, if it makes sense.
I feel like in high school, your world is so small and you don't realize it's so small until you leave. You know, at that point, the people you know are the people in your hometown and the people at the school, and those are the opinions that matter to you. And then you leave, and then you realize that, like, suddenly those people, you know, the cliques and the groups of people are ridiculously irrelevant.
Cliques.
What, cliques?
Cliques, yeah. Cliques. I like that way of saying it way better. Oh my gosh.
Cliques, because you know, it's like I was trying to think of another word to compare it to defend my way of saying it, but
no,
clique doesn't sound. You know, it's not like clique, isn't it?
I actually really like the way that you say it, so you don't need to defend that. That is way better than the
No,
Americans.
It's okay. It's like, you know, rogue is with a UE. Like, clique is with a UE, right? So, like, rogue, like, you don't say rogue, you say rogue, you know?
Yeah, no, totally.
That's what it sounds like.
Clique.
Okay, we're off the deep end now. We're on the clique deep end.
Yeah. The clique end. Okay, I'm done.
Clique end.
Clique end, yeah.
That's good.
Wait, what were oh yeah, no. Well, so, yeah, high school, like, how many people went
your
to
world is so small, but you don't realize until you're gone.
Well, how many people, like, went to your, like, college, roughly, like, in number?
How many people went?
Yeah, how many people were there in that building?
So, my secondary school and sixth form were the same place. They were separate things, but it was the same building, same teachers, but separate entities. And there was about 250 people per grade.
Gotcha.
And it thinned out a bit into the sixth form part. So there was maybe 150, 200 of us. And then, so that's 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's 7 times 250.
That's 1,750.
Did you calculate that, or were you just?
I just did that in my brain.
GG.
Thank you.
But yeah, like comparably, that's that's kind of average. My partner, he went to a really big sixth form. There was there's like maybe over 1,000 people just out of 16 and 18-year-olds, but they had like a big building built for it. But yeah. No,
oh my gosh, my high school experience within that piece is no, mine was like about 1,200 people, right, in my high school. It was a small it's a small town USA sort of a deal where it's like aggressively white, right? Like I don't,
Yeah.
like Maine, where I'm from, is the whitest state as far as things go.
Okay.
Sorry, it's one of two. The other one being the one I currently live. So I've but it was like so it's like so it's there. There's that so many people. And it's weird because like you get to know your grade, but you don't really get to know like everyone in your grade. You know, it's like
Yeah.
the battle of like getting to know people within schools is so weird because it's such a web of connections randomly always. You know, and it's like the thing for us, right, is it was my final semester that got COVIDed on. Like the pandemic came in and was like,
Right.
ha, get COVIDed, sucker, and bam, we everyone's sent out. So it's like you miss that closure that it was supposed to give.
Yeah.
Fun story. Actually, my mom in my junior year really did not want me to go to prom. She was like,
Why?
because I wanted to go with a group of friends, and she's like, oh, people don't do that for prom, and I'm like, yes, they do. She's like, no, they don't. And so she's like, I'm not gonna. You'll have your prom next year. There was no prom next year. I'm happy I went.
Yeah. Good thing you did, huh?
Yeah. Dude, my parents were weird about that. Our relationships improved a lot past high school, you know? Um,
Yeah. I think that's quite common, isn't it? Once you, especially if you move out, you have that, like the separation between, your life and theirs. You are
yeah.
no longer part of the nest, which is like beneficial for everybody, really.
Well, it's like, I think you never really figure yourself out if you're in the same, like, place for too long, I think, you
Yeah.
know? I don't know. Wait, have you ever, like, moved out of your house, or?
I haven't. Shit's expensive. 'Cause
Understandable.
I didn't go to uni,
Yeah.
and then and then COVID hit as well. Not that that's I would have probably been in the same situation had it not, but it's rent is so high where I live, and I don't really want to move super far away either. So it's yeah.
Yeah, no,
I've spent like my partner moved out because he went to uni and I'd spend weekends with him, but that's all the closest I've
Aw,
got to being formally away from home.
heck yeah, that's cool. Do you like drive, or?
I don't drive, no.
Fair. Dude, I like it so much better though. Public transport and like figuring your way around places is cool. Wait, I think we just got lost into it. I think the other fun thing about talking with another person with ADHD is we literally get into these conversation spirals where it kind of like moves into wild places always.
Yeah.
Like,
Every now and again, I'd be like, what were we talking about before?
yeah,
I don't think
it's
it matters, sort of
no,
thing. Like, it's okay that we've moved on.
It does, yeah, no. And I think that's like one of the big things that I've been enjoying about like doing this podcast. Like, it's been this way with like almost every person that I've had on, and that's like most of the people that I have on are also like neurodivergent. I think we don't
Yeah.
know for sure, but like, but it's like nice because it's like I don't know, the neurotypical path of conversations bores me, to be honest. It's like
We need excitement.
you stick on for things too long, it's normally way too people focused. Like, I don't know, I hate gossip culture, you know?
Yeah.
As someone who's a theater kid and witnessed it firsthand all the time, we had one kid in my high school who was all about what's the tea for like everyone else, you know?
Ugh. Yeah.
The tea is no thank you, but thank you for offering.
Yeah, like actively seeking it out. Like, if it's coming my way, I'm not gonna say no, don't tell me. But
Don't,
like,
yeah.
thriving for nothing. If you've got nothing better to do than talk about other people, then it's like, ooh.
Ooh. Well, it's like, that's the whole thing for it too. Like, my extended family spends a lot of their time just like talking about other people and stuff. My extended family's like nice, but it's like I don't know. I've noticed like I feel like a lot of people just like in their young adults don't really have too many like interests, you know.
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about other people a lot, surely you are not happy yourself.
Right.
Like you're unfulfilled if you're having to degrade other people to make yourself feel better, kind of thing.
Honestly, yeah, no, totally, and it's one of those things where it's like I think the extended like connections and stuff are funny to like figure out. It's oh gosh, it's one of those fun things where I don't know. Do you have a bigger extended family or a smaller one?
Pretty small. It's like compared to some at least, it's definitely smaller.
You definitely probably have a small one compared to me. I have 20 cousins, so
Oh yeah, 100%. I've only
yeah,
got two,
that
so that'll do it. I've got a lot of second cousins, but only two cousins.
we got some second cousins, but it's like I think it's chaotic because it's like back home, right? Like so for context, right? My dad's the youngest of 8 kids, and my mom's the youngest of 4.
Well, that'll do it.
Yeah, it's so, and they each have their own families. It's a massive little web of connections, and it's, dude, I cannot wait for like when I'm actually like have a job either like on the YouTube sphere myself more so. It's most likely I'm probably gonna be like working either business side or creative side of some YouTube project, right? Like it's like. Even my channel's not big, but it's like I've got connections. I know the people, you know.
You're in with the biz.
Well, like that's the other thing with YouTube, right? It's like you spend so long. I don't know when was it that you like started to like create more content and like yourself like.
I've been like making all, as you explained. I think you explained in this call rather than before. I might have
the pre-call.
Confused, but I started making videos like over 10 years ago, like not consistently with Owie, of course, but multiple different YouTube channels, and you know, I've been doing the Owie stuff since about May,
right,
and that's landed really well. But I've done vlog style stuff, I've done random things here and there since I was about 12 or something. And
this month's been like one of your biggest months ever, I'm assuming, right? Like,
oh, I mean, the last time I was trying to do YouTube before this, I just about broke 100 subscribers.
Yeah.
And that took like a year. This time I hit 60,000 the other day, and it's been, well, I started in May.
That's so exciting.
It's so much. It's really cool. It's really, really cool.
No, I feel that though. Like my one, I'm about to hit 300 soon, which is nice. You know, pretty.
Yeah, I spotted that.
Yeah. Pretty spicy like numbers in the grand, like I've been at this for a bit, but it's like I've not had the time because of college, right? But it's like my two previous like, attempts, both of them broke 100, but it's like not much past that. This is the first one where it's like I think I've like started to figure out like a good model of like what works for the, like it's still a bit of a portfolio channel instead of like a niche channel in some ways, where it's like I'll throw kind of like whatever in, like podcast episodes, absolutely, like those are fun to do. It's like it gives people like a way to join. I've actually probably met some of my like fans through other people's fans who like notice me and stuff, having like a creator on, which is a fun cycle. But how the creator ecosystem works, right? It's like there's no harm in collaboration really, like ever online.
The tricky thing about creating online, and I think what pushes a lot of people away, is that you don't get guaranteed reception. You don't get guaranteed people seeing your stuff, and it gets demoralizing if you're spending a lot of your time and energy and heart into making something and then no one sees it and therefore no one likes it. Even if your stuff is good, it doesn't mean that people are going to necessarily see it. And that's where collaboration and stuff like that can be really helpful, because it's the crossover and the networking of fan bases essentially. If two creators get along, then chances are their fans will probably like the same stuff as well,
and enjoy the intersections of whatever energy they have, because it's like I think it's kind of crazy and stuff too, because it's like there's some creators which it's like, and that's what this podcast really is. This podcast is like a disguised networking tool, right? It's like I want to meet new creators and have like a ice-broken conversation with them because they're cool, haha, dragging them in. But it's turned out to be something that I think's been really like successful as far as like meeting new people, and it's a fun way to like just widen horizons a bit and stuff, because it's like, and the thing about the creator space that's so cool, so I think of YouTube, right, it has like 2 different spheres, right? The fan sphere and then like the creator sphere, right? And once you've started the transition over to the creator sphere, where it's like you either create stuff yourself more regularly, right, and it's like have a following there, or at least friends with a few like bigger name creators, I feel like things start to come more naturally and stuff.
You get the tips from people who have been there, done that. I think that's been a big thing for me when I started to make friends who had more subs than me. It was suddenly they had like insider knowledge from the people that they knew that had more subs than them, and it feels easier to sort of learn and improve when you have those professional eyes almost. It's just trying to break into that in the first place can be tricky.
Well, it's one of those things where it's like I think, well, it's so because it's like, again, you don't normally meet many people like from your like high school town and stuff, where you like know people who become like connected if you're staying in that like normal bubble, right? Like even at like film school and stuff, I don't think any of the other film majors are actually like creators and stuff on the YouTube space. There's one kid, but we don't talk to him. I
Gotcha.
feel bad for saying that. He's done some stuff that are, yeah. No,
Hashtag cancelled.
he's a white guy who uses some inappropriate language. That's the way I'll phrase it.
Yeah.
Also, it's fun. It's fun. Oh my gosh, I don't know. Are you someone who like swears a lot or very little?
I swear quite a lot. It's a bad habit, really.
That's fair. I don't swear at all, but I think it's fun talking. But I think it's fun because it's like I don't swear a lot, but it's like I don't mind other people who do. I actually don't think you've sworn once this podcast, so congrats.
I think I said shit. I
felt
bad.
Now. It's all good.
I know I have. I was like, oh no, am I gonna get? Because I was trying to like, can I swear? Because you weren't swearing at all, and I was like, is this like meant to be family friendly? But then I have to accidentally swear, and I'd be like,
my whole thing is it's like I'm not a creator who's like for kids as far as it goes. I'm family friendly in the sense I could create a kids series if I wanted to, but let's be real. I my whole thing is like media analysis for like for everyone much more, and like the whole like process per se, you know.
Yeah, and even if you like, you know, in terms of YouTube guidelines and stuff, you are allowed to swear and stuff, so it's fine.
The YouTube guidelines seem so hypocritical sometimes. I see some channels that go like so untouched despite doing the weirdest things, and then there's some and then there's just like little video essayists who it's like, haha, smited by the guidelines.
Yeah, it's weird. People are often complaining about that. I feel like they're slowly getting better over time. A lot of people would get demonetized for swearing.
Yeah.
But I think that's not so much of a problem anymore, which is good. It's a start, at least.
Always, honestly, a good thing within those things, because it's like I don't know. I think the whole thing with swearing, right, is it's so much to the like the whole thing with swearing is it's like swearing's so it's aside from like there's a line where it crosses, right? Like don't slur, of course, right? But like normal swears themselves wind up being the least harmful, I think, like of the bannable offenses, you know, and stuff.
It's just human expression, so long as it's not offensive, you know.
As
Those words that we decided were perhaps.
And I think the thing that's so interesting about it, right, is it's interesting to like spice like a character up and stuff, because like I'm a writer and stuff. I don't know if you write often or if you mainly just draw.
Oh, I don't write, no.
Fair. I don't draw, but I write a lot. That's one of my whole things with it, like between video essays and then whatever screenplays and stuff. It's so fun trying to figure out if a character would swear and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Do you have like OCs that you draw, or?
No, I've always wanted to, but my imagination doesn't work like that.
Fair enough.
I've tried, but it doesn't work. I guess you can say that owie stuff is like an OC, but really it's just an extension of self.
They're self-insert.
Yeah, basically, it's basically like it's like me, but not quite me at the same time. And the way I explain it is, if you're familiar with Ed's World, it's a bit like, you know, the people who made Ed's World are the characters, but then they're not actually a direct representation.
Yeah,
well, it's you know, Aoi channels some of what I am, but is more dramatic and extreme, and you know,
and a little chaotic.
Yeah, like I'm me as a person. I'm not going to go and stab a guy, but I might do it in Aoi. You know.
Yeah, honestly, though, I think that's actually such a joy about creating and stuff, is just doing things that aren't you, you know? Like, I'm not the kind of person who will boldly, like, do stuff that's, like, stupid. My characters would, and that's fun. Like, I think within my, like, films and, like, writing and stuff, I don't think that there's been been a few characters that have been a little more like me. Like, I wrote in high school, I wrote in freshman year of college. That feels like high school. It's so long ago. A short film called The Dilemma of the Scattered Mind, which is basically about ADHD and procrastination, where the main character is sort of inspired by my mannerisms at times, and she totally gets hit by a car at the end because she forgets to look both ways.
Sorry, the way you said she totally gets hit by a car, it's like,
yeah.
100%. 100%.
Yeah, no, 1,000%. That is fate confirmed. No, I've remarkably not had any like major injuries aside from like the head thing, which yeah, oh yeah, going back to that. Yeah, so I cracked my head open in a pillow fight.
In a pillow fight.
In a pillow fight. We were in our basement, me and one of the people in 5th grade that I was friends with. This is Martin Luther King Jr. Day. I remember it very firmly. We were having a pillow fight for the funsies of it, because that's just what guys do sometimes. And he accidentally bashed my head into the corner of a wall.
Ooh.
So the crazier thing, right? I feel it not in too much pain. It's your head. You got a skull there,
Yeah.
That being said, he is crying and feeling so awful for it. I'm like, no, it's okay. Don't worry, I'll be fine. And my dad's advice when we got back was, that's why you don't pillow fight in the house, which is the funniest thing I've ever heard said by a human being.
Sounds like you should do it outside. Oh, I guess less sharp corners outside, perhaps.
It's like, it's fine. I have done okay since then. It had to get my head glued. That one, and then I also cracked cut my knee on a rock once, but those were my only two major injuries. So and those are minor ones, but I've not broken a bone or anything. So thank goodness for that.
I have.
Oh,
I fell off some play equipment at school.
Oh no.
And honestly, I think there could have been a lawsuit there, probably.
Yeah.
There was this play equipment we had on. It was new. They'd all hyped it up. We're getting this delivery of play equipment. What it was that I fell on, it was essentially parts, a donut shaped bit of plastic. Let's say it's maybe 30 centimeters tall, and it was cut into segments that you could Velcro together, so you could make it not a donut but something else, which is big genius brain creation, because I stood on one of the pieces when it wasn't Velcroed, and it rolled backwards and I went forwards and I landed on my arm and I dislocated it and everything. I had to get it surgically put back into place.
Oh my gosh.
Which I guess you could say possibly is ADHD and not looking, but I think it's also just us as being a kid, and you don't think about the effect of gravity and stuff when you step onto the play equipment that that is provided to you.
Yeah,
it sort of feels like bad design. But yeah,
I think one of those differences between the child brain and adult brain is kids often are like, oh yeah, no, everything given to us is safe. Don't worry, we can completely trust authority, or either that or nervous as heck about things, right? Because there are those kids that are nervous Nellies and they deserve hugs.
I was that as well, to be honest.
I as a child, right? No, I was the most goody kid ever, right? I was afraid of my teacher said this thing in first grade, I remember, where if you were talking in class, they're like, we're gonna write your name on the board, aha. And it works on me. I was heard once and I felt really awful immediately after. And then another thing that I remember happening, it was in then in 5th grade there was one of those clip up clip down charts. I don't know if you had any of those ever, where where, I kid you not, one of the stupidest reasons I ever had to clip down was I didn't do my science homework on time, so my English teacher was like, how dare you, and so clipped me down, and so it was you can work on it and snack, and I'm like, she gave me the morning to work on it, and then it was snack, so nothing else was going on, so I was just working on my homework, as one should do, and then she catches me and she makes me clip down again, and it's what did I do?
Some teachers are just power tripping, man,
No, she was definitely one of those teachers. She was my least favorite of my elementary school teachers in retrospect, right? The math and science teacher was actually really sweet in a lot of ways. I'm good at the maths, right? It's I got by pretty fine in that class. Just English is one of those things where it's and then it's we had to, there was this assignment we had to do called Around the World. This is one of the only things that's kind of not cheating in school, but it's did you ever have, how much of sticklers over your work were your parents when you were growing up?
Oh, they didn't really care. I always did well. If I did badly, if I did badly, of course they would have minded. But so long as I was doing average to good, they didn't really mind or care.
Well, also your passing is 50, right? That's your in the UK. That's one of the big differences I know between you guys in America.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
See,
the percentages are completely different here.
Ours is often 70, which is I think it's ridiculous. I think you should just be a little more friendlier and more open to people growing as a child, because it's when you don't give kids the room to get better, right? Which America doesn't. You really I feel one of those things where it's I feel The thing is, I spend so much time like around home. One of my mom's biggest beliefs and stuff is always like, wouldn't you rather me tell you not to do something so you never experience that failure for yourself, than just like experiencing the failure for yourself? I've
Well, you don't
realized,
learn that way.
yeah, I've realized over time that failure has honestly been like the way that I grow more, right? Like messing up in situations is how you grow, especially in like your young 20s and stuff. But it's like, so it was always,
Yeah.
I always like listen to that growing up and stuff where it's like, but it's like there was the whole like my grades that I had to have 85s in each of my classes to make the honor roll, which is such an arbitrary thing that like middle schools and high schools do. But
Yeah,
that's
we don't have anything like that.
so if I didn't get that grade, I had to literally go on the if I didn't get to an 85 for a grade, I had to be on the I had to no screens for the entire like quarter, right? So
Ugh,
yeah, it was rather strict.
that's rough.
We figured things out roughly by the end. I learned
But
how
you don't
to
want to be
cheat.
scared of fail. Like getting scared of failure is counterproductive, really, isn't
Well,
it?
well, it's like the whole thing is my first mistake happened right in sixth grade, third quarter. I got an 83 in environmental science, which is not a bad grade to get.
That's not bad, no.
But that was the one that started it all, right? Because that was an 85, so I had that taken away for a bit. And I openly tell my parents this nowadays. I think that's the whole thing that made me lose passion for like school in general, because it's like, how can you get back into a system when it's gamified against you, right? It's like,
Yeah.
because it's like it wasn't my technology that was like causing me to like not do well. It was just, it was a natural thing. Like having that one grade's pretty fine still, like but it's like, I don't know, it always gets you up into these cycles. And like I think the crazy thing about brains, right, and how the way things work is like, I don't know, I think grades are such an arbitrary system to have out there for
Yeah.
like things. I think you should just master the content and be able to move on. I think it's
Yeah.
there's so many things that come up for people that it's so hard to like literally like fault people for like their failures. And like in college and stuff, it's a thing too where it's like you fail classes and stuff, that's you lose that money, right? That's where it kind of like matters, right? It's being paid for.
Yeah.
But it's like,
When you're a kid, like you don't like you can't be scared of failure, otherwise you're never gonna like grow and find out, in the first place.
that honestly is one of the most important things out there and stuff too. If you are a child who's gotten this far in, I don't know, do you have a lot of child fans, Ellie, who probably would click
I
on
think
this?
so. I think
Fair.
so. I try to like my stuff is more targeted towards like 18 to
Yeah.
24, but I bring in a lot of teenagers as well.
How many teenagers do you think saw your getting older video and just saw, oh wow, I feel that I'm old? How many of them do you think like misunderstood?
And to be fair, no, I think it's valid if it
Yeah.
applied to them, that's fair enough. I had people commenting who were like 13, 14, 15, and they were like, for them it was not so much that am I failing as much as the fear of getting older, and they still felt it was applicable because it's the whole, they're scared of becoming an adult, but really it's
Right.
not as bad as you think because you have time to refine these things and make more choices. So it was applicable to a wider range of people than initially intended to be for.
Yeah, no, honestly, and that's good that like worked. That's honestly pretty good that worked out for them and stuff. I don't know. I feel like the whole thing with getting older and stuff is it's like when you're younger, right? Everything older feels way sooner than way later than it is, right? It's like like the past 4 years, and like as you grow older, I feel like the years really start flying by more.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's like a smaller chunk of your life, isn't it? Like when you're one, that is 100%. Like 1 year is 100%
Right.
of your life. And when you're two, it's half your life, and so on and so forth. It's the years are smaller and smaller chunks compared to the grand scheme of your life.
Yeah, no, I, well, and the whole thing and stuff too is like at college, like I was so excited. Oh my gosh, I've always been like someone who's always excited for the future, right? Like elementary school. Oh my gosh, I'm so ready for middle school. One of my favorite shows of all time, by the way, is Ned's Declassified. I don't know if you ever watched that growing up.
I've heard of it, but I haven't watched it.
One of the funniest shows ever made. It is one of my favorite sitcoms. That one's up that's my favorite. The like kid coms, one of my favorite sitcoms in general. Have you seen Malcolm in the Middle or?
Uh, Again, no, to be fair, I don't watch a whole lot of TV, which is why it's always no.
Fair enough.
No, I haven't.
No worries. Do you okay, so is SpongeBob your favorite TV show of all time, or do you have a different favorite TV show of all time?
I don't really have a favorite TV show. If
Fair.
you're thinking of things that like you look at TV shows and you're like, oh, like I can't wait until I'm in high school because in this TV show they make it look really
Yeah.
cool. My version of that is High School Musical, as it is for many people, because they
Ah,
make it look
yes.
so fun, and then it's like it's not like this at all.
I
How
know.
dare?
Well, it's like the thing with high school that's so funny is it's so like used in media. It's such a good setting for like media, right? Like
It's something that everyone can relate to, I suppose, right?
that's where you can get into it with kids, teens, or kids, teens, adults. It's from every angle. I love the setting myself and want to write stuff that's set up there at some point. You know,
Yeah.
like another film that I love is, have you ever heard of Booksmart?
I don't think I have.
That's a very good film. But like that's like the end of like high school graduation. But it's I don't know. It's like going through school. It's like one of the things for you guys when you were in like primary school. Did you guys have to walk in lines everywhere? Was that a
Yeah.
thing? Yeah.
Yeah.
I freaking hate that. You know. Gosh, it's like as
Even to some extent in secondary school as well.
Really?
Actually.
For-
Like it was be like if you were walking to an assembly or
Oh, yeah.
to a fire drill, then you're walking in a line.
Right. No, oh gosh, fire drills are something that's so school. I remember for like we have those at college, but those are instead actual like real fires accidentally in the building, you know, because someone decided to
Oh,
burn
they're
something.
common here. They're common here for university accommodation. You'll be like asleep at 3 a.m. and then suddenly the fire alarm's going off because someone's burned their toast
That happened
drunkenly.
like twice last year for us. I remember I was rewatching Coraline, right, as one does, because it's the Halloween season last year, and then
Yeah.
and then we literally had to go off at like 3 a.m. in the middle of the night, so everyone has to file out of the building, and it's
Yeah.
not fun, you know. But
Yeah, that sounds terrible.
But the thing with college that's interesting is you're not guaranteed to be in the building, so there's no like attendance that they take for everyone, you know.
Yeah.
Which I think's nice. But like we have things like this. So for my school, right? I'm pretty. Yeah, for my college, right? We literally over Thanksgiving break there was a fire in the building that in one of the buildings that we had happen, and they literally had to pay $1 million to get a cleanup crew to take care of everything.
Oof.
So
Right.
we got back on that Monday. The building smelled weird still, which was frustrating. But like, yeah, we, man, college has been a time. Honestly, it's goes so fast for me and stuff with them things like.
It does go fast. I mean, I haven't been, but like
Yeah.
I met my partner while he was in his first year, and now he's graduated, and it's like,
Yay!
whoa.
Oh my gosh, I'm so proud of him.
Yeah. Oh yeah, graduated in the summer.
Oh wow.
Got first and everything. He did really well.
What month do y'all graduate?
I think he'd finished out all of his stuff by June. We tend to run a bit later and start a bit
Yeah.
later than in the US. I know that much.
We start early September. We end early May in college.
Yeah,
with-
see, that's really early. Like no, schools, like typically schools don't finish until universities will finish earlier, but school, like elementary school, they won't finish until mid-July.
Yeah.
You got a massive, really long summer break.
Well, for you guys also, so what I've realized about like the UK, right? Your temperatures are a lot more like average all the time, right?
Yeah, I mean, we have it spikes up and down. We don't like have consistently really hot and consistently really cold, but
Right.
we don't, it's not like extreme temperatures at the same time.
No, so New England, right? For context here, we get a lot of snow here. We got some rain. I think we're actually y'all are a bit warmer than us in the winter. Like when I was in Ireland, it was consistently way warmer than it was here at all. It rarely ever snowed, right?
Yeah, it might snow a few times, but really, we sort of go between -5 and 7 degrees Celsius, which is mild comparably to places that have snow all year round.
Currently is 31 degrees Fahrenheit here, which is a little below 0 in Celsius. So
Oh yeah.
it's already snowed for us a few times. We got a lake nearby, which kind of adds to everything with it. But it's like pretty
that's
nice.
cute.
I'm attempting to walk away down to the lake, which is cool to see.
Oh, that's really nice. Yeah.
Do you have like a lot of coasts and like bodies of water in like Britain or?
I mean, it's an island really, so there's plenty of coasts. You're never more than 2 hours drive from a sea or a coast somewhere.
That's cool.
Yeah, which is nice. It wouldn't take me that long to get to one. I'm really sorry. I don't want to have to cut this off, but my partner's arriving any moment.
Yeah, no worries.
I'm nervous about him not being able to answer the door, so I think it might be a good time to wrap up. I'm sorry to end it though.
No worries. I think that's fair. It's always up to the guest. So thank you guys sorry for the abrupt ending, but thank you for being my very special guest today.
Thank you for having me. How long have we been talking for? It feels like
we have talked for an hour and 45 minutes.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it's been that long, but it's gone from light to dark in the time we've been talking. So
yeah, I know. Sounds good. Anyways, thank you guys. Thank you for listening, everyone. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. Sorry for the abrupt ending of this episode, but here we go. 3, 2, 1.